everyone's here.
Yes, everybody's here that's going to be here. So good evening. I'd like to open the meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission for August 25th. We will take roll call. Jimmy. Jimmy, you're muted.
You're muted.
Still muted.
I got it.
All right, there you go. Peter.
Here.
Ken.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
And Silvana and Teresa are on vacation.
Right.
You have a quorum. First item is the approval of the minutes from July 28th. Any discussion, questions, comments? And if not, would somebody like to make a motion?
One quick thing I want to say is that Savannah is stuck in Florida. That's why she's not here.
Okay. So the minutes for July 28th. Any comments or corrections?
No.
If not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Jimmy?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Ken?
Bob, I wasn't at the meeting, so.
Okay. Paul?
Yes.
And I also approve those minutes. Right. First up is 2 Engine Lane planting plan.
Yeah.
Did you guys get my email?
I did. We did.
Okay. Just so we have to start working on some resolution of this. I'm not sure where you guys want to go, but basically the gist of it was that this property was recently sold, and during the process, there was no certificate of compliance that was issued. So Elaine went out and take a look for preparation of the issuance of the certificate of compliance. And at the time when she went out to take a look, it would appear that there were some differences, changes in the backyard that were not permitted or approved on the plan. So since that point in time, we've been discussing about how to get in compliance in order to issue the certificate of compliance. So I think in your email, you had the couple different plans. There was the original notice of intent or order of conditions plan. Then in 1995, there was an as-built that was submitted. They did request a certificate of compliance in 1995. It was never issued. I'm not exactly sure at that time why it wasn't. I believe it was because one of the requirements was to have the whole development receive one, and at the time that hadn't happened. So anyway, so it came back around again. So you have the original plan, you have the 1995 as-built, and then you have the existing condition plan. In addition to that, there was a plan put together by Libby Wallace of Hayes Engineering that she called the Wildlife Enhancement Plan. So you guys also have that to take a look at.
Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like me to share from those emails?
Well, I was sort of hoping that, like I sent an email that some people had gone out to take a look.
I did drive by tonight that saw what I could see from the street.
Fair enough. So if you want, you
I
can
did
start.
as well yesterday.
Okay, good. So if you want, you can start with the original, the order of conditions plan. I think I scanned it for you guys, but just a piece of it,
Yeah.
just the part that was relevant.
Yeah, I have that and I can share that. Okay. Order of conditions dated 7/13/89.
Okay, can look at, start with that. So that was the order of conditions. I believe written somewhere in there. I have that too. You can go, yep, out to the. So I think what happened was in condition number 36, it says prior to the issuance of a certificate of compliance for this one, a certificate of compliance must be issued for the whole subdivision. And that was back file number 83. So number 36 talks about that. And that file number 83 was held up for a really, really long time because one of the requirements in that order for the subdivision had to do with transferring property over to the Conservation Commission. And we held issuing a certificate of compliance because that hadn't happened. That has recently mostly happened. I can explain the details. It wasn't really transferred to the commission, but it was received by the town. So in essence, that has been completed well enough. And I believe that certificate of compliance for 83 was issued. Therefore, this one can now be issued. So that was the holdup likely back in 1995. That's my guess. Does that make sense? One of the other conditions in there is number 38, which talks about a 10-foot buffer zone off of the BVW. That was really it on there. So next, if you want to go to the one of the plan, I think one of the emails, Bob had like a couple different pictures in it, a couple different files.
Yeah.
That's the order. So go before, it might have been, I had sent them at different times. Do you want me to try to find the date at which I sent that specific one to you?
Concept plan?
That's Libby's, you can pull that up. That's Libby's wildlife enhancement plan. So if you want to zoom in that a little bit, so you can see in there what Libby has done as taken some of the areas, not all of them though, because areas where it says plantings F and E, those were not ever regulated as wetland previously. So those are always had been upland areas. Similarly, some locations within some planting C adjacent, like sort of at the bottom of the hill adjacent to the shed, not behind the shed, but towards the road more, that I think had always been upland as well. But planting, the area that says planting C, B, and A, B, and C, those had, and D, I believe if you look at the order of conditions plans, that had previously been delineated as BVW. So it would really, I think we really need to go to that plan starting there, and then we'll move towards this way. I can try to see when I sent it. Try Tuesday at 4:36.
Got it.
Okay.
There's 4 attachments,
Yep,
95.
so go to
Asheville.
1989 NOI plan.
I have it open if you want me to share.
Yeah, can you guys see it? I do have it open.
Okay, yeah, you got it.
All right, can you, that's kind of a
Can you
terrible
rotate
picture.
it?
No.
All right. So the road is to the left.
Yeah.
And the wetland flags are on the right hand, the green.
Yes. Right along the
Actually,
260 contour.
further down, further. See where it's green and it
Oh,
says,
yeah, I got it.
yeah, it's over there. One of the complicated parts, as you can see, is that from the corner of that house to the wetland line, there's a diagonal there that says 12 feet. And then there was, in the order of conditions, it said that you have to put a 10-foot no disturb. It's impossible. You couldn't have a 2-foot area for someone to, you know what I mean, for them to walk around. So unless that 10-foot just, I'm not really sure, just meant no structure. We didn't want a structure there. Well, regardless, it's very tight, it's very close, and didn't leave very much for a backyard. I don't remember. My assumption is that 260 might be a bordering land subject to flooding. Let me look real quick.
Yeah, the wetland line seems to cross the 258, 258 and a half, 258, I think, contour.
Yeah.
Is that the best picture I gave you guys? Because that's kind of terrible.
You gave us one that's a little, it's a little more complete than what came up on the image, Bob.
You gave us the
Okay.
as-built.
Yeah, this is the
All right,
as-built.
and then that one, you can see that was the 1995 as-built plan. That what it shows is that there was a fence there, which was the limit of work. The assumption being that behind that was the no disturb. So that is really all the information we have, other than any aerial photos. We have that too. So Elaine went out to the site. I think she talked to you guys about it. It's stable. There's a wall. All right, so that's probably the fence line there
Yes.
from, all right, that says 2001. Pretty tight. I mean,
Yeah.
not, that's pretty challenging. And then if you go to the more recent, I picked 2019 because it's in the winter and it doesn't have the green canopy. So that's why it's a 2019 image and not like a 2021. It's just easier to see the ground. So you can see the difference there.
The last picture, can you just go back to the last picture? I just want to be sure I understand that. Was that where the hay bales were? When? What is that? What is that line? Is
Fence
that-
line.
I think it was a
Fence.
fence.
It says stockade fence on
Yeah,
the
4-foot
plans.
stockade fence.
Yeah,
And
It
was that-
matches the
Was
as-built.
that meant to delineate something, or was that just, what was the,
Yeah, I think that was the limit of work line.
that's what I'm saying. It's like a hay bale.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying in that regard. Yeah.
So what was between,
Look at, so your point is that that was supposed to be a, that was supposed to delineate the wetlands at that point?
No, so what, I don't know, because it didn't say it on the plan. That could have been the 10-foot off requirement. So there was a 10-foot in the order of conditions, that condition, I can read it one more time. Condition number, I think 38 or whatever it was, just bear with me for 1 second, I'll read it to you. Talked about a 10-foot setback off of that. So I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that that could demarcate the
That's
10
10
foot.
feet? That's 10 feet off, okay. But even assuming it's 10 feet, now go to the next one. I just want to see what, that's the alteration. I just want to understand the extent of the alteration, which is, wow. That
Yeah.
looks like, okay, so like pretty much the whole thing is an alteration.
So this area here.
Well, yeah, they
We
didn't,
don't-
when they did the development, they didn't really leave any realistic space for living.
So this is open water right here, wetland.
Was that open water when they built the development, or is that something that the owner
No.
developed as a
No, that
result?
was there.
Fill
Oh,
That
that
was-
was there.
Yeah. I
It was
think
open
that-
like that. It wasn't marshy. It was completely open.
No, it was like that. And there's a stream that goes through there down to their conservation land. Goes under the road.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, on the NOI plan, it does say standing water. So it was, I think that was kind of how it looked. I mean, might be, it's hard to see sometimes. That's why I try to pick the winter pictures. It's kind of hard to see sometimes, and I'm sure it fluctuates.
Right, because here you don't see it at all. Maybe right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
very
pocket.
little.
Wow.
We don't know.
And there
the
was none the
conditions.
other day when I was there at all.
Yeah, we don't know
You know
the
what?
drought conditions either.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right.
I think
Right.
it looked like the floodplain was down by the towards the wetland line. Sorry, I don't have a better plan for you. I have to get hooked up to the
Yeah.
large scanner, so
Can you
I
go back
can,
to- What about the shed? Was that right? I mean, where is that? I'm just curious where that is in the prior picture.
I don't, is it there? I don't think it's there. Let's see.
I know, I just want,
No,
That
No,
was
it's
in the-
not there.
no, the shed was in the way, on the other side, obviously, of the, it was on the other side of that wall or the. So the shed was in the wetlands. Just, I just want to understand.
well, it's not clear, Peter. You know, if you look at the drawing Rebecca sent. I'm not sure they followed the wetland exactly with their fence line.
yeah. You can. Right, it's
Well,
really
they
hard
kinda-
to say.
Because if you go off the back of the house, it doesn't take you that far to get to the BBW. So if you look at, that shed is in the, I mean, look at look at where the shed is. The shed is in back of the house. You know, looking at the picture, the shed is all the way in the, it's in back of the,
It would have been in back of that stockade fence, it appears.
yes. Yes, that's what I'm getting at. So that whole thing is in the wetlands. And so everything around there, everything around the shed is in the wetlands and
But,
kind of everything.
but that fence line doesn't represent the BBW. Is that
Right.
No.
correct?
No, it
But it
doesn't.
could
It's
be-
further to
but it
the
could be
house
within
than the
10
BBW.
Could be within 10 feet of it though, right?
So I think Elaine went out there, and, everything's stable. It's lawn, there's some, retaining wall along the pond. So then the next conversation was Libby was trying to, think of ways in which we could enhance the area and still have it function as a yard space. So this is where we are now. And if you want to pull up her. Yeah. So she's proposing areas where she would, where they could plant different plantings in those areas.
And I didn't, oh, here's the planting plan.
Yep, so each one she labels how many and what would be there.
Do those seem appropriate?
It depends what you're looking for.
So we get upland, we get fac up, fac wet, upland.
So it's a direction that could be gone in. Think they are proposing some areas, like for instance, the planting area F is currently just grass lawn. And she's proposing turning that into a planted area.
Hazelnut.
Yeah, they're
Those
all
upland
upland, fac
species,
up.
they make, say again?
Yeah, they're all fac up, yeah.
Yep, because it's upland.
Yep,
It's
yep.
lawn area, so that makes sense.
Okay,
If these plants are planted in the way that she has described or has labeled in there, those areas would not be classified as wetland, because in order, if you were going to go by vegetation, you need 50% or more, and they're equal upland plants planted and wetland plants planted. So you don't really meet the criteria because you wouldn't have the soils for it. So I think that's a consideration.
Were soil samples taken in any of these locations?
Not that I did. But like, if you look at the plantings, you have a facultative, which is equal up or wet, you have a wet, and you have an upland, and they're all equal. So the 50% or more won't fly based on those numbers. So those are no longer wetland areas. They are now what would technically be considered upland areas.
So area B, let's see, which looks like it would have been certainly wetland area, right?
Yeah,
So B. Okay.
when you get to
And-
like facultatives, you need other supporting in order to classify it as the wetland, because those are equally found in one
Right.
piece or the other.
So wouldn't we want more wetland
we-
species or fact wet in that area B?
Well,
No.
I mean, I don't know if the fact wet would even work there. I don't know. I don't know if the fact wet would work in all of those locations.
We don't know how much fill is there either, right?
No, I don't know.
So that's the other variable here.
Are these, where are these in relation to that rock, low rock wall that sort of seems to define the edge of what had been standing water?
I think the rock wall that Elaine was talking about is probably about where that yellow line is, that is
Really? Is that
the
far
right
over?
line of area B, because I think it's
Okay.
along the open water.
All right,
So it goes like wall to open water.
okay.
Okay, right along. Jimmy, at the last meeting, you had some thoughts that you're going to share regarding this.
Did I really?
Yeah, you were going to start talking about it, then you said we're not going to talk about it. I have some ideas or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I was, this was a hard one because technically, you know, in some respects, you should be probably taking it all out and creating the wetland that was there. But I honestly think that if you did that, I don't see the advantage in it because number one, you're bringing the wetland close to the house.
Mhm.
And I don't know how the plant's going to adapt to being that close to the house. And it's a pretty well vegetated area right now. It's got a lot of good canopy. It's got a ton of wildlife. It's performing a lot of the functions that a wetland would provide. I don't know that we should, you know, I hate to say this, but I almost don't think that we should be doing much of anything.
Well, is there an opportunity in some other area? back
We looked at
here?
our, well, me and Rebecca looked around quite a bit. Rebecca was really trying to find something, but even in that area, it was close to, the finished grades that it would have to stay at. There is bordering land subject to flooding in there. I forget what the elevation is, but it can't be too high because that thing, everyone has actually put rocks around the pond. There was probably never any rocks there before, but he's not the only one. All the other ones too have rocks bordering the pond. So it's
You mean the
containing,
other homes in the neighborhood, Jimmy?
yes, it's containing water.
Yeah.
And actually that's good for the wildlife. And when we were out there was ducks in there. So
So would these extra plantings be a detriment, you said?
no, I'm not saying it's a detriment. I'm just saying that I don't know how much digging and mucking around I do. I don't know how well the plants are gonna do. I mean, if we're trying to restore this to like the rest of the property, I think that would be an issue. But I mean, this thing's been like this for 20 years to get to the point that we see now. And I think it's, as far as, it's looking pretty good. It gives the homeowner a place for his, it was not reasonable what we did anyways. Number one, we probably should never have allowed the house to go in there when the subdivision was being approved. Because it was a really ridiculous thing to expect that someone was gonna walk through a gate that's 4 feet wide and down into a little strip of nothingness. So, and I don't know how well bringing the wetlands up close to the house. I mean, we try to stay away from that. You know, that's something we're doing all the time, is trying to keep the houses and the home activities 25 feet away. So why would you bring the line back into where the house is? I guess I'm saying that we'd probably be better off to leave a lot of it the way it is. I don't think, like Rebecca's saying, planting E, and I don't know what the hell we need to do that for at all. I don't see that as an, you know, that area, if you look at his yard, it's high.
So is that area pretty wooded right now, or is it just?
No,
grass?
it's not,
Pure
it's grass. It's grass, isn't it, Rebecca?
I'm sorry,
Grass.
which area? Are you talking about E?
Yeah,
E and F is,
ENF.
E and F.
well,
F, I think
F-
is
F is, but
grass.
maybe not E.
E's on the inside of the fence, F is on the outside.
Yeah. But there's
Yeah,
plants
E's in a
on both-
natural
there's plants
state.
on
I wouldn't
both
do
sides.
anything to E. I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
There's plantings on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, so there's like a little landscaping area on the opposite side of the fence that would be within planting, where it says plantings F. Planting Z, I think, is just in its natural state. I probably wouldn't do anything there, but does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah,
Jim, are we talking about Libby's? Are we talking about just to accept Libby's planting plan?
well, that,
With the exception of ENF right now.
as far as Libby's planting plan, we asked her if there was something she could come up with that would kind of duplicate a wetland, knowing that we weren't gonna hit the wetland soils. Because I
Right.
think,
So I'm just saying that came up with a plan and is one of our options just to approve her plan?
It's always an
So-
option, yes.
So by planting non-wetland plantings, doesn't that at least enhance the buffer zone?
yes, it does.
And we provide additional canopy too.
Yeah. Yeah,
I guess my point is that, Jim, you said you wouldn't do anything, but Libby's proposed a planting plan, and shouldn't we be?
I know that, but that's my own personal thing.
Okay.
I mean, I've been looking at this thing for months, and it's beating me up. I think I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what's the right thing to do.
Well, Libby has proposed something that presumably the homeowner is willing to do,
Yeah.
right? And the question is, would it enhance, would it result in an improvement of the situation?
I think it would, but I think you also need to.
Or
um, Go ahead, Peter. I cut you off.
no, I'm just wondering, I mean, my point would be that if there's a proposal that's been made that we think is a good proposal, then, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess my point is, I'd like to just talk about our proposal, and does it?
Okay.
What you're saying is that certainly you're not suggesting that more should be done over and above what Libby is saying. That is your personal point of view, right?
Yes, that would be correct.
That's fine. And so I guess the question is, I guess I just like to focus on, you know, does anyone feel that this plan is inadequate in any way?
Well, I don't know. Do we need more, things that would provide food for wildlife? I see bunchberry. Is there anything else here that would provide food for any wildlife? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, Rebecca's brought up a point about the quantities, what types of plants are, so we'd have to resolve that.
Can I just interrupt real quick? If this is a wildlife enhancement area, I don't think typically ferns, other than providing shelter for adjacent small critters, I don't think ferns are typically considered high value for wildlife.
Right. The only thing here would
Okay.
probably be the bunchberry that would provide food.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So would we
Yeah.
want
We have some
something
oak.
additional that would provide? Why, I guess my thought is, why wouldn't we want more plantings that would provide wildlife, food?
I-
Were the ferns more an effort to try to squeeze in wetlands plantings wherever they could? Is that the point of it?
Yeah, but
I
except for
don't-
the cinnamon
know.
fern, they're not wetland plants.
I'm not sure why there were so many
It's
ferns other
fact
than,
wet. It's fact wet, so it's a wetland plant.
But only the cinnamon fern is, the other two are not.
Yeah, the cinnamon fern is the fact wet, right? The other
Right.
two, well, she's gotta have some uphill stuff too,
Yeah,
but, the ferns are kind of a small plant. Aren't they?
well,
Yeah.
these will get big. I mean, cinnamon ferns can end up getting fairly large eventually.
Yeah.
they also die back.
Yeah, they're gonna die back in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And the
Go
other
ahead,
thing,
Paul.
I was gonna ask Rebecca, we've seen a number of folks use red twig dogwoods as in wetland plantings. I mean, as an alternate to these, the
Something more like a shrub.
yeah, more like a shrub instead
You
of
know,
the
another-
hazelnuts. But put them
So
in with the ferns too. It will be, the berries will be bird food.
another really good one is Winterberry Holly, and most people like to have that in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they enjoy seeing the winter berries. Birds eat them if they're left there, and some people use them for Christmas decorations. I recommend that one a ton because I think people really like it. But with that said, before we nitpick each and every planting
Yeah.
species, I think it's important to just ensure that everyone is on board conceptually with the idea of keeping the current situation and just adding some plantings to what I think that's, if we can go there, we can start picking apart which plantings, how many and where more easily if we're all on the same page in regard to accepting this schematic of where plantings would occur.
You're saying rather than taking it back to wetlands.
Right.
I'm
And you're
saying
al-
that you guys will need to issue a certificate of compliance. Or I suppose that maybe you don't, but for a certificate of compliance, you would have to sign off that when you sign that document, the lot is in compliance with the order that was issued or any other type of approval. So I think that technically, you're gonna need to sort that out.
Yeah, we wouldn't do that until we approve plantings and get all that done.
You will have to reference that then in the certificate of compliance, because that is, that contradicts what was previously approved.
Right.
So you're approving something new.
Would we have to issue an amended order then?
You
essentially?
know, what's the mechanism to do that?
Yeah,
Great question. I don't know. I think I need to understand where everyone stands on how you guys want to proceed before I can recommend what the mechanism would be.
All right, so just to be clear, your recommendation is not to do anything in the planting E or F area? And Jimmy, you concurred with that?
Yes, I do.
All right, so that being said, then we've got these other areas here. A, B, C, D. I think that that is okay, but I would want to see different plantings with more food sources. But conceptually, I would agree with plantings in those areas.
yeah, I would as well.
So should we give it back to Libby and say we're okay without E and F, but we'd like to see some revisions made to A, B, C, D? And see what she comes back with?
I mean, we can, or we could just do it
propose?
ourselves.
So what is the issue with ENF? I'm sorry to be to review the bidding.
He,
They're
uh,
already vegetated, Peter.
Right.
There are, if you look at the 2019 and
I see.
zoom really hard in, there's already trees in E and
Okay.
they overhang F.
Okay, and so Libby's thought was there wouldn't be any need for more as well. She's not, was she proposing to do something different in there
She was
or?
putting more trees in F, which is out sort of right along the sidewalk.
Okay.
Hazelnuts, oaks, and some ferns.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
So
let me go
we-
back. I may have been confusing.
that's
I would-
upland area.
I just want to know that she's proposing to do something and we're saying, no, we don't want you to do anything. We'd rather you do nothing than something. I just
we're
want
not saying that yet. Go ahead, Rebecca. You say something about that.
Yeah, sorry, I think I may have misled you. In the event that you guys determine that keeping it upland and just asking for plantings is sufficient and equal, the only area I probably wouldn't muck around with is E. Now in F, there already does exist some landscaped area. I think there's like a big rock and a nice, if I recall, like a Japanese maple and stuff like that. I wouldn't change any of those, but if they're proposing to have supplemental go in there to enhance the upland buffer zone, then I think that you should include F as well. I don't think she's proposing to take anything down. It's just E. I feel like it's undisturbed. You could probably just leave E alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really small potato though, compared to
Rebecca,
everything else.
that area around F that you're talking about, that long section, that's pretty well vegetated. There's almost trees in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's where the rock and the Japanese maple is. It's pretty.
Yeah, but that's not the only two things in there. I mean.
Yeah, but there's other vegetation along in there too, if I
Oh, we can
remember.
see-
what I saw.
See
There's a
trees.
grassy strip right at the edge, but otherwise,
and
When
it's
you
just-
walk out the gate though, so like where the arrow, yeah, it's hard. I think maybe just, Jim, maybe the long finger part, the long narrow rectangle part can be
Yeah.
cut
But
out of
I-
that.
Yeah, we
But
could
the
dice it up.
I would not want to propose something that kills the mature trees that are there in the process of planting a
Right.
shrub or something, you know what I'm saying? Because they are substantial plants in that area.
Yeah, but she's also proposing ferns. I didn't know if the ferns were going down there, which wouldn't do anything.
Yeah,
The tree
yeah,
roots, you know what I mean? I'm just not sure.
yeah.
Well, anyway,
So we could dice up that F and only work in the lawn area.
Now, this fence that goes along the side here, it just ends somewhere. It
Yes.
doesn't wrap at all.
Where,
No.
Bob?
There's this fence on the
On
north.
the right-hand side of the drawing?
Yeah,
with-
between E and F, sorry, E and F. Get a white
yeah, it
fence.
just
like
goes
right
out
in
and
the
then,
street.
Bob, it's a high white fence and it just stops.
Right, it stops right at that intersection of this purple, or this, not purple, what color is that line?
Property line.
Magenta.
Yeah, that it ends right at the property line because they bring their materials in through around the gate there.
Okay. So wildlife can get through here.
Yes,
It's not impeded on this side of the property or in the back.
nope,
Now, the wildlife is pretty substantial in that area.
Yeah, and we've got
Yeah.
all, we've got the whole, emerald necklace area, all around this parcel.
yeah, the property's pretty open to the, what looks like swamp behind.
Yeah.
forested.
I think it is. Bob.
Yeah, it looked, when I drove by the tail, it looked awful dry. Of course, I would expect it to be pretty dry right now.
Yeah,
Um,
there's grass growing where the open water was right now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Rebecca, you're recommending leaving E alone. We could enhance the plantings in the other areas. And we don't quite know how we would handle this from a paperwork standpoint. We really couldn't give a certificate of compliance until if we agree this is what we want to do, that this is approved and finalized.
Mhm.
Can I just ask the question?
Yeah.
If the certificate of compliance is issued, and that says that the 10 feet off the house, the line that was originally in the order of conditions, isn't in existence anymore because it's a lawn, does that then mean the homeowner could come in and propose an addition off the back, or how does that change anything in that realm? Because are you saying that that's no longer the buffer, so that, does that open the door that there could be a further disturbance through an addition or something such as that?
It's a
What's
good
no
point.
longer the buffer? What's no longer the buffer?
Well, there was a 10-foot line off the house that was
Yeah.
the line that in the order of conditions. If
Yeah.
it's now lawn and you're saying that's acceptable as lawn, then the line is no longer there. So that would mean.
That's right.
What, so then you could come in and propose an addition that would create potentially a large disturbance.
That's
Is that the
possible. But that's possible, but I'm not sure that that would ever happen.
So who brought up amended order? Ken, I think maybe if somebody mentioned amended order. Why wouldn't that be the way to go?
I don't know, why couldn't you just do it on the
Well-
certificate of compliance, say that you've substituted.
Because certificates of compliance can't authorize wetland fill. That's why.
Yeah,
That's not the mechanism to do it. It can be done.
It's not.
That's not how.
Judy, the wetland buffer is 10 feet off the BVW, not off the house.
Yeah. But she's
But
saying
it's
that
still- but it's still
now it's
close.
upland.
Right, right.
Now it's upland. So you could put a pool or an addition there because it's upland now. You could. There's no reason why you can't,
Yeah,
which is fine, but
But it's still in the buffer, which means we would have to approve it, right?
sure, but why, you guys are no longer there in a couple of years and it's a bunch of new people and they
Nope.
get a plan and this shows where the wetland line is. That's where it is when they want to put in an addition or a pool or whatever. And
That's gonna
I can't
happen.
see why you wouldn't do it. I would do it. You would.
Rebecca,
prove it.
all of us aren't gonna be here that long. So I
Me
mean,
either.
yeah, things are gonna change anyways, whether you like it or not, I mean. And hopefully everyone's gonna be as proficient as we're trying to be.
but I just don't think we can do a certificate of compliance, even with the plantings.
Well, that's the question.
Right?
don't have the
Why,
answer.
why
I don't
wouldn't
have
it
the
be
answer.
an amended order?
Because the order's too old. It's already long since, it's so expired.
So then we would have a new filing with this proposed work.
So then you could say, how would you get that approved? What would be, how would you, because don't forget, if you did a new filing, it would go to DEP. So then you'd have to find in the regulations, allowing wetland fill, of which you can, but then there would need to be replication.
Right. And is there any way there could be replication in that?
Well, this is the path that Jim and I went down
Yeah,
earlier.
lower left,
Lower
like
left.
C, in the C area,
No, C is already wetland.
behind the shed.
That's wetland.
And then there's a stone wall right where the yellow line, the red line is, right?
Yes.
Between B and A. And D, could D, or does the stone wall go all the way through the yellow line and D through this area too?
I think it does.
And then what about up here? Is there a stone wall up here too?
Yeah, I think there are rocks along the bank. I think they go all the way around.
I mean, maybe you could do some replication in this area here.
Yeah, Jim and I entertain that, but it's beautiful and it's large trees and there's a over canopy and it wouldn't make sense to
Okay.
disturb that area. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
looks good.
so there's really no good place to do replication on the property. Is this town-owned land right behind it?
No,
Mhm.
Now you guys understand the struggle.
Yeah.
So,
Why couldn't we, what about if we gave them a enforcement order
I was thinking of that.
To do what?
to
Take
do
out
this,
the stone wall?
do this work, to do this work?
To do the work.
To do the plantings?
Yeah,
We still have the order, the certificate issue though.
But that wouldn't work either, Jim, because you're giving an enforcement order to require plantings in an area that was filled.
well, what I do is take the fill out and get back down to the original fill, the original soil, not the original fill, but the original.
I thought you didn't want to do that.
I didn't, but I honestly, I don't know, now that we're talking about all this, I don't know what the right solution is. But
I don't either.
in those like in those, she's still gonna get a yard, a good sized yard, the way she's drawn this thing. If you just followed the perimeter plantings for A or something like that, A, D, and B. Slope those down towards the pond, take the wall out. And then reestablish the BVW there. That's why I wanted to see some soil samples, because I wanted to find out exactly where the line is. I mean, it's the possibility it might not be up as high as we think.
Not as much fill as we think, maybe.
Rebecca, how did this come up again? Are they trying to sell that property?
They were
Yeah.
wanted to sell the house, yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess this is the guy that came in to see Rebecca.
Well, the
Yeah.
property's been sold, right? According to your note, Rebecca?
I believe it was sold, because we were speaking with the new owners. I think all the parties are aware that there's, an issue that needs to be fixed up. And they're just waiting, I think, to hear about how we're gonna get this resolved. I believe the new owners are in the house.
Well, there were vehicles in the driveway when I was by there yesterday.
Yeah, I'm pretty
in
sure
here.
they're in there
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, there was a vehicle there too when I went by. So did this come up during the closing?
Yes,
Yeah. Title search popped up the
Yep.
fact that you didn't have the certificate.
it's been happening I get these phone calls almost every day that I work. It's happening a ton.
Really?
Everyone's finally catching on. So, yep, that's how it came up.
So there aren't many good options here.
No,
Enforcement order to restore, or enforcement order to create some compensatory storage. Do the plantings, but we won't be complying with the original order. And we essentially would be authorizing filling of a wetland.
We determined that the actual BVW was offset from the original fence line, right?
that's the assumption we're making based off that 1995 plan, because it doesn't tell us one way or the other, but you can assume that if that's the limit of work line, and they said that the limit of work is 10 feet off, you could make that assumption, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest solution is you take out that stone wall or embankment or whatever and offset it closer to the house and dig out some of that fill.
It just seems like the BVW on that cutoff plan with the green flags, it's only close within 12 feet in one spot. It could extend further as you go north.
Well, and that was the proposed plan. So if we work off the as-built plan and assume 10 feet behind it, you
I
could
mean,
work off
So it
that.
might,
That might be more generous.
I guess my point is there, if we do have to remove fill,
Yep,
just in the BVW,
Yep.
not in the buffer, it might not
Right.
be, if we can map that line, it might not be as big of an effort as we think. It's
Okay,
not going all the way to the house. It's only going close to the house in one section, and it seems like it's a little further away from the house in others. I don't know. I don't have that line.
right.
I just.
We
only have
could
a
try
little-
to do it that way. Put
I just
on,
wonder if that provides more backyard, which I think is what we're trying to go for here, but also might make it easy to solve our problem. But I have to see the full plan to see if it makes sense or not. It might not make sense.
um, that is the closest point. It does move away.
Yeah,
I'm sorry that you don't have it.
can see it right here.
Yeah, and it continues on that sort of trajectory.
Oh, you're saying the one with the green flags, the wetland?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And about that
Actually-
258 contour is the bordering land subject to flooding, which we never even talked about, but is also there.
and the shed is somewhere, I don't know, in this area, I think.
I think it's closer, and unfortunately, I'm sorry it's cut off, but I think it's closer to like between 5 and 7. Because it's behind the plane of the house.
Okay,
Yeah.
back here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, we've talked a lot about this, trying to be clever about how we can satisfy the certificate of compliance and still have it be a usable backyard space. I think we could probably work with allowing some fill.
Maybe a combination
Yeah,
of that and then enhanced plantings is
yeah,
how we get there.
What'd you say, Bob?
Combination of removing some fill and enhanced plantings that would provide,
Right,
buffer and wildlife food.
right,
Maybe
right.
that's how we get to the the middle ground here.
Yeah,
so what I can do is try to scan the whole plans and forward those to you guys. We probably need to make a decision on this pretty, it's been kicking around for a fair amount. Just in fairness to the homeowners, I feel like we should probably really work towards this. On the other hand, I don't have time to prepare a restoration plan. I think that is going to be their responsibility.
yeah.
But I think maybe they could use a little bit more direction of what
Right,
you
absolutely.
guys want to have, what's acceptable. Just because I think it's just really been kicking around because it's challenging. And no one has a really, really, really good answer on this one. Because I think you're right, Jim. I think it was unrealistic to have a house and those restrictions put on when it was done.
Mm,
Because the developer sells it and he'll agree to anything to get a house in there. And then the homeowners who buy it are stuck with it. And it's just,
Right.
and they're not always aware, whether
Right.
that's right or wrong, they're not always aware of their limitations. And it just makes sense
Yeah.
that someone would want to use their own space differently than how the developer says it would be used.
Yeah, it's a very tight spot to be putting a house to begin with.
Yes.
And the house is 24-foot wide, which is typical, right?
Yeah.
You squeeze in a regular size house, you get your 20-foot setback here into a very small usable space.
Right, right,
Ah,
right. We should never have allowed it. But we did.
well,
Or it would have had to been on stilts, or,
or maybe
Yeah.
part of the fill would have been in there, quantified fill for the, for the whole subdivision. which I'm sure they maxed out for the roads, but so maybe we can, or maybe Libby can be really clever about some language in there about how we can work it out.
Well, why don't, can you relay your concerns to Libby and as far as what plants and stuff like that and
Yeah, that's simple though.
yeah, and then relay what our concerns are and let her come up with something. I don't think you need to spend your time on it. Like I
Well, here's
said.
what's weird. They get 30 feet on the side to the property line, to the street. Why wasn't this house shifted much more towards the corner? And that would have resolved some of the issue. I don't understand that. To get another 10 feet, you could have gone this direction,
Mm.
Yeah.
or 15, or yeah, if it's 15.
know, Where's the
Too
other
late to
plan?
fix it now.
Right, but yeah, in retrospect, why, it doesn't make
But
sense.
that doesn't, it doesn't.
No, you're
look-
right. Yeah.
Well, you know what's doing it is the corners for the setback. The corner, see where the curve, you got that curved line up there?
Yeah,
And then if you look at the corners of the house, it probably, the offset goes diagonally up these corners. Because the road isn't shown in there. Oh, yeah.
it
there it is,
certainly
right
could have
there.
gone further this direction, but anyways, too late for that.
Yeah. I think they would have if they could have. I can't imagine why you stuff it down here.
They probably just wanted a bigger side yard since they weren't gonna get a backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Maybe.
that could be.
And now they got both.
Yeah.
All right,
So are you
so
continuing to the next meeting?
what are we gonna do? Give this back to Libby?
I really think that we need some very precise language and direction. Just because, we said enhance the buffer zone and then we got this. I don't want them to spend lots of money and kick this around for a long period of time, so.
No, but we needed to talk about it and we
Well-
needed something to look at. So I don't think we wasted anyone's
Okay,
money.
Yeah, I mean. we
Maybe I just
needed
feel
all of
bad.
all of our heads together and all these different, pieces of paper to look at for sure. I mean, it seems like there's no alternative other than to take out some of that fill and enhance the plantings. Some combination of both. Unless Libby can come up with something or, somebody at Hayes.
all right,
And
I'll talk to Libby.
This is Steve, the previous owner. I don't know if I can speak for a quick moment.
Yes.
When you were talking about that wall, and I was in the property for 27 years, that wall was all there. All those boulders were all along the edge of where the water line was. And it goes all the way to the culvert around, it bends around the corner there of the property toward the culvert that goes under the street. And it also goes up that other side where you mentioned it was upland. I think that's the term that you used.
Did you buy the land? Did you buy it from Angem? Did you buy it?
Did
from
I buy the
Angem?
property from Angem? No, I bought it from
Yeah.
another. Someone had it for 1 year and then I purchased it. And I
Okay,
never
well,
got any.
Okay, but he
of
must have
the
put the
ones-
rocks in. He must have put the rocks in because the rocks couldn't be there because all our drawings are showing that was a wetland. And there was not, you're not gonna find rocks lined up like that in a wetland.
Yep.
So,
The rocks were there, and there were, and I think I had mentioned to you, Jim, too, there were like 3 or 4 trees in front of that shed area.
yeah,
There are actually, I think 4, that over the last 20 some odd years, they've
Okay.
died.
it died, yeah, well, that happens.
I had tree service come in, they were huge.
Yeah,
And in those walls, there's all kinds of wildlife that has been living in there. We've
Yeah.
got everything in there. We've got the muskrats in the water, the deer come in.
I know you do. I saw the pictures. There's all kinds
Okay,
of-
you saw those pictures that I sent, okay.
Yeah, I did. It was amazing. It's like they had
So
their own
to
park.
be digging that up and disturbing all the wildlife that's already there.
Well, we have a real dilemma here. It's a real
Oh, I
dilemma.
understand.
It's a serious dilemma for us and something that we can't just, do whatever we want. We've got all kinds of regulations to follow, which we are trying to do. So, and we're trying to do it with the least disruption to what you have out there and make everyone happy. So, you know, I think we're doing the best we can right now.
Mhm.
I think that we always, when we talk about wildlife and habitat and that stuff, we have to remember that you protect wetlands because they provide habitat. You don't protect habitat.
Right.
And as much as I would prefer it the other way, it's not what it is. So it's a challenge to try to meet that and still
Yeah.
have as much as of usability as possible in this situation.
Yeah.
But we'll try.
All right. So can you recap what's going to happen now? So we can know.
Me? Or
Yes,
Bob?
you.
Me. I think that we are going to ask Libby to come up with a plan that includes removal of fill and restoration of wetland in some areas, enhanced planting in some areas, and for her to come up with a justifiable number that of area that gets restored that would meet the regulations and allow you to issue a certificate of compliance. That's the task I'm going to give her.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I don't know if that's possible, but we're going to have her try.
Easy.
Right,
Easy-
that's
easy
for her to
job.
figure out.
And I'm happy to talk to her about, you know, the details. I wasn't sure where everyone was going to go. I needed to know that direction first.
I mean, I think that's the only thing we can do to possibly meet the regulations and accomplish, you know, minimal invasive, you know, work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Steve, is there anything else you want to add before we get off of this
No,
topic?
I'm just waiting for the direction that you need me to go in.
Okay. I'm sorry this is taking so long. This is very
No.
difficult for us, believe
Oh, I
me or not.
understand.
We are trying to be realistic. Okay.
Now, we
What's
get
next,
anything
Bob?
else? Anything else on Anjum?
I think that's enough.
Mhm. So it's continued, right?
Rebecca, you ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm just writing that stuff down to talk to Libby.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, so next up is 26 Shady Ave update.
Elaine, I think we received an email asking someone to verify that the enforcement order is being complied with at Shady Avenue. It had, I think, some concerns about the plantings. Elaine did go out and she sent me an email that said she believes that it's in compliance and he's working towards meeting all the goals in that enforcement order. I believe she spoke with the homeowner who was concerned and gave them that information. I'm just letting you guys know. I think part of the question was the willow, it didn't look like the willow trees had been planted, and I guess likely because it was those sort of cut pieces,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So I think those tubes.
They died?
Say again?
Did they die? He had like 30 of them in there.
I think it probably just didn't look like trees being planted,
Oh,
is
okay.
my assumption based on the information I have from both the neighbor and Elaine. So that is really just the update. I wanted you guys to know that there was concern and that Elaine went out, and at this point, she feels like it's still moving forward in an okay way.
Okay.
So that's it for that one.
Okay,
It should all be like that.
all right. So next up is 102 New Salem Street. Request for certificate of compliance, DEP 313594.
That's
Okay.
the house. That's the house, right? With the backyard
That-
that had the,
Okay, I sent you a bunch of stuff on this.
Yeah,
There's some photos.
okay.
It was a duplex.
yes.
Can we
So
put them
what
on the
it-
screen?
Yep.
I'm going through the
while he's putting it on, I'll talk about it. Got a letter from the engineer. More or less, we got the as-built plan, more or less as proposed. They said the driveway had changed a little bit. I think it's actually a little bit, as opposed to a longer rectangle, it's a shorter square. It's actually further away from the wetland, so I think that would, and they say the square footage is about the same, so that works. The deck off the rear of the house is a little bit bigger. It's up to you guys. And a roof drain outlet was added. They did provide pictures of that, so you guys can see that. Did I give it to you upside down?
Dude, they're all coming through upside down. In some cases, that works.
So,
This is fine too, because New Salem is at the top.
okay. So I will tell you, as a tangent, I have asked for some upgrades for my computer because I can't manipulate PDFs. I can only look at them. I can't do anything with them. I can't insert anything in them. I can't combine them. I can't do anything. It's
So
crazy.
you need Adobe.
So yeah, I need to, so anyway, so I've asked for that upgrade. It's coming. So when that comes, hopefully these won't be upside down.
All right,
In any event, that was, it looks like that's the original plan.
yeah,
You can see the long, narrow driveway that's almost up to the back of the house. So that was changed, I think, in that, did I scan them both in one? That shows
so,
the,
yeah, we got existing and proposed.
yeah, but
Which
you
was-
should also have the as-built. This is
Yeah.
still,
Can you flip those over?
Hey,
I
hey,
could,
Bob, Bob, I have them if you want me to flip them.
okay, I'll stop sharing.
yeah. So I did look and I saw the roof drain. Personally, I think it's okay. That's up to you guys. It is a change. Everything is,
You
Is
added a
stable.
roof drain going into the chambers?
no, so it discharges into the yard.
Oh.
Kind of where it says like 4-inch shrub, kind of like over there. All right. See where
Oh,
it
yeah,
says,
for sure.
there's a roof that, so when we go through the pictures, they give good pictures of it. You can see it there.
It's in the northeast corner, that 4-inch shrub.
All right, there are the pictures, good. That's the roof drain, you can see it there. I'm gonna go back for a second. No, yes, so you can see the outlet there, right next to that 4-inch shrub. And if you go down to the next one, they give you a nice close-up. So that's different, that wasn't approved by you guys.
Yeah.
That's a different way of doing it. Interesting.
I don't know how that, yeah. So there's the driveway, it's a little bit shorter, didn't come all the way up as they had originally proposed. Because I think it went all the way up the side of the house, so it's a little bit further away.
Is that just a binder coat on the pavement? And then it's got an apron there, or what is that?
I think that's gonna be grass.
Okay. Is that a manhole?
Hi,
It is.
Joe Tavano,
It
that is the finished coat right there.
Okay,
But it's
And that
grass
is-
behind it, right?
Yeah, grass is growing now, yeah.
Yeah, grass is growing through, right, that's right, that.
Okay.
It's for the solar or whatever, but there's grass all around that now.
okay.
And concerning the outlet, just at one meeting we talked and it was recommended that I run the outlets out to the back to the wetlands, so I kind of
Okay.
thought that was what you wanted.
Yeah, it looks like it's running to the lawn.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I got plenty. I put a piece of concrete there, perforated
Yeah.
pipe, so it drains nice.
It's clean water coming off
Yeah.
the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, you know, and it keeps it all, I mean, there was discussion about the water running on New Salem Street, so I funneled it all to the back.
right.
So my only question on this, so I think that it's in compliance with the approved plan. My only question is in the back, it looks like they mow to the wetland. It was at the, I wasn't here for this original filing, so I don't recall any discussions on it. Was that how the condition was at the time? Do you guys remember? Some of you weren't there. And is that what we're doing going forward? It's just a little it's not typical, so I wanted to ask. if you guys recall.
I recall that it was, I recall that we had discussed on the sidewalk that a lot of the mowed area was in the BBW.
I didn't see anything in the order of conditions about it, so that's why I think that you can issue the order, because you didn't say anything about it, but it's worth having a discussion now. I'm not sure where you guys were going with that, because if you go back to the pictures, Bob,
Ken's driving.
there's one picture that you can, yeah, so you can see it sort of well, and keep going, it's not it. That's the
Is
other
it the
side.
edge of the BBW right there?
It is, that's between the property line, but that's not the one I wanted to show you.
That's got a stone wall demarcation separating it, which is good.
That one. So it looks to me, it looks like you see the pipe outlet, you can see the shrub and then the tree, and it looks like there might be someone standing along the fence to the left, and then you keep going over to the tree to the left. I think
Yeah.
that tree is the one that's shown as the BVW line. If you go to the as-built plan would be fine. If you go to that, so I'm wondering if there was any discussion about that. There wasn't anything written in the order, so again, it would have had to have been.
I don't remember.
So if I could speak for a minute, please.
Yeah.
When we went out and did the site walk, originally, there was an old shed there. I don't know if, I can't remember who went out. I think Mr. Luciani was out there. though.
Yeah,
There was
I
an
remember the
old
shed.
shed, and we talked about it, and we did have a discussion. When I purchased this property, it had always been mowed, and I
Okay.
continued to mow it, and there was a discussion about, well, can you still mow the wetlands? And it was decided that I could mow it, and I've just kept it maintained the way it's been since I purchased the property.
Okay.
I don't know if it was ever talked at a meeting or in the minutes, but it was definitely discussed when we went out to site. The only thing that I did, and you could see when it went out there, I marked it, I wanted to be clearly delineated. So I put in some rebar rods, so I knew exactly where it was. So the only thing that had changed from the original site walk is there was an old shed out there, which I removed. And that was it. And I just maintained that green space since.
So the mowing is going right up to where the back of the shed was. Is that correct?
Yeah, fairly close. The mowing is going back to where it's always been. I mean, I purchased the property. It took me a while to get permits here, but probably 3 years ago. And it's just the same as it was when I purchased it, the mow line. There was just, the shed, there was an old concrete slab there where that drainage is. Remember, there was an old concrete, there had been a garage there, someone demoed, but they left the concrete floor. And all that stuff obviously has been demoed.
But you probably shouldn't be mowing the wetlands.
Well, is he mowing wetlands or up to the edge?
Are you into the wetlands? Are you into the wetlands or are you just to the edge?
I'd probably say right on the edge where those iron rods are. I mean, I think you walked the site when we walked it,
Yeah.
so.
So the back of the shed was right on the line. So if it was being mowed up to the edge of the back of the shed, then that would be right at the line.
Well, the shed's gone.
Right, but that's where it was. So
Yeah,
prior,
right.
there's
Right.
mowing,
My recollection is that there was a pretty substantial amount that was being mowed.
Okay.
That is I mean, we can go back and look at it, but I thought it was, and I do recall that.
If you actually look at the property too, you could see where the previous owners, they had piled leaves and debris right along the edge of the mow line. And that's where they stayed. But I mean, I'm pretty careful with what we
Yeah.
talked about. And I haven't even put my own leaves back there. I mean, whatever I do and rake up, I take out, so. Whatever it's worth.
So I think if I could just interject real quick, I think we got two things. One is the certificate of compliance that was requested. I kind of think it's, that was the existing condition and there wasn't any condition talked about. I'm sorry, there wasn't any condition included in the order. So I think he's in compliance with the order. So you could issue the certificate of compliance. I just think maybe it's worth having the discussion of, let's just be sure that this line doesn't get pushed any further back. If that was the existing condition and it was historically mowed and nothing was done at the time of the order to demarcate or have a buffer or a no disturb line, then that's why it would be in compliance. But I just think we want to be careful about not to continually encroach so that line gets pushed further back, further back, further back. And then you would have an enforcement order issue.
What if we just ask them to put in a couple of posts? One on each side of the property, and it'd be a straight line in between.
Stone bound or granite marker or something.
Yeah,
like
granite
that.
bound or something like that. We got some little flags and some little metal plaques in the town hall. We can get a couple of those too.
I thought he just
Surprisingly-
said that he has rebar in there at those farms.
Well, rebar, yeah, rebar. I wouldn't want someone to get impaled on rebar.
Well, no, I think it's already there.
No, I'm actually looking forward to taking that
Sure,
little,
sure,
that
sure, sure.
rebar out of there because it is
Yeah,
dangerous.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
happy to put up a little fence or whatever you want. If you look where that neighbors, where that little red circle
That's
is, where the
right.
neighbor's fence, I mean, I'm happy to put up whatever you want. This house is rental. I don't live here. I don't anticipate anyone being back there.
Okay.
Just maintained.
So what if we did a granite bound to each property line? So you just got one on each end. And I'll see how everyone thinks of this. And you just don't mow past that line.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's pretty difficult to even try to get back there with the mower, and I'm not even sure why. I mean, I could even do with a little smaller yard, to be honest with it, but yeah, that's fine. I can put
I think
whatever
that
you
would be
want.
great.
I'm fine
Should we
with
go
that.
out and, should we go out and look at that? I just want to make sure that I understand. I mean, is it necessary to go look at that, or do we know where?
I think Rebecca's told us that he's complying with the order.
Okay.
The order.
What we're talking about now, these stone bound and stuff
Yeah.
is not.
We're just talking-
covered in the order.
That's outside the order.
Because I think it means that, I guess my concern is that we're talking about a fairly substantial area that's being mowed that shouldn't be. If that's what we're talking about doing, is putting stone markers at the BVW, where the BVW starts.
Yeah, right.
I just want to make sure that we don't have a miscommunication, that
Okay.
the owner doesn't think, oh, I didn't realize that. And I mean, it might be worth just a,
Well, all right, I think that's a good idea. But what
Okay.
if we, go ahead.
I was gonna say, can we do this? Can we vote on the certificate of compliance because you're under a time crunch to get it done? We have 21 days to do it. Because they've requested one, and I think it complies. And then I would like you to schedule a site visit that you guys go on, and then we can have discussions about how you would like there not to be encroachment into the wetland area.
That's fine.
Jim?
Rebecca, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
I read
I'm
your.
surprised we didn't have a no disturb zone of something there. That's kind of strange, but anyway.
Which is why I didn't understand what was happening, and I felt like I needed to ask you guys, but you didn't. So
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. See,
Mhm.
I don't know what happened. But anyways, yeah, so let's follow that suggestion and would somebody like to make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 102 New Salem Street?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Paul,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes,
Peter,
yes.
Jimmy,
Yes,
and I also vote yes.
can you now schedule a site visit?
Sure.
And at the site visit, you guys can sign the certificate of compliance.
yeah,
Oh, that's genius.
yeah. I like that idea.
Ooh.
Yeah, sure. Weekday after 6. Next
Well,
week.
What about this week? What about this Saturday?
I won't be
The
here.
weekday.
I won't be here.
Oh, yeah,
Weekdays.
Weekday, weekday.
Weekday.
Saturday,
Obviously.
we call Saturdays weekends.
Okay.
Still a weekday for you, Jimmy, I know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just tell me when. Gonna come up with this time.
Calendar.
I might just go Saturday and take a look at it.
We can give you power of attorney.
Yeah,
I'm available Saturday.
I'm not.
No.
I don't think we need a big squad of people. I just
No.
wanted to
That's
make
fine.
sure that we
Yeah.
If only a couple
visualize.
folks show up,
I
that's
just wanted to
fine.
make sure that we visualize and just make sure that we're not suggesting something that's not, that somebody didn't realize, that there's not some.
yeah.
All right, we'll
disconnect.
rely on the expertise of Jimmy and Peter to make the executive decision.
What?
I agree.
I wasn't listening. I'm sorry.
We're relying on your expertise to make the executive decision.
Oh, really? Wow, what an honor.
Peter's with you.
Wow, yeah, that makes it better.
All right, Saturday it is for you guys. You want to pick a time with the homeowner or?
Can we just stop by? I mean, there's no one.
There are
There's no-
people living there.
No, there are people living there. I have it rented. I'd actually like to be there, so just tell me a time. I only live
Oh,
in the corner,
okay.
so it's not a big deal.
Have to be after breakfast.
Realize most people are sleeping at like 6 and 7 on a Saturday, Jim.
8 o'clock.
I'm up in case any of you folks are, okay?
He's
So-
he's an Italian. He gets up in the morning.
Right,
The
right.
people who are renting probably.
They-
No,
Wanna do
they-
like-
they won't even know. They won't even
Do you
know.
want to do like 9 o'clock or?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock sounds good.
Yeah, that's a late one for you guys. All right.
Yeah. Might have.
All right, so 9 o'clock Saturday it is.
And so you guys will just update us at the next meeting of what you came up with. And if the homeowner wants to come, he's welcome to, but I don't think it's necessary. I'll put it on the agenda and you guys will tell us what happened.
Okay.
Deal. Sold.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are you ready to move on? Rebecca?
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. All right, next up, DEP 313544, 5 Finley Street. Request for certificate of compliance.
That looking.
All right. So this one had a lot of nice pictures from Elaine as well. I also put in the email her notes. So there
Yeah.
was an order of conditions. This order of conditions did not require an as-built plan.
Yeah.
I found that crazy. I didn't.
Well, it got done, right?
That's what Elaine said. It got done. So if you guys want to read her notes, look at the pictures. But the gist of it is that Elaine feels that the order was complete and you can issue the certificate of compliance.
I do have the notes.
Let's go.
on
Can
screen.
you read her notes over again? Let's just, because this one here was something we should be sure of.
All right.
And Bob, I have the pictures turned, so whenever you want, let me know.
Okay. All right, so Elaine's notes from today. A 4-foot strip at the end of the property where it borders wetland was excavated to the wetlands elevation. I could see that it was lower, the width was correct, and it had flourishing amount. Oh, it's cut off.
Yeah, hold on. Of wetland vegetation.
Okay. Note number 2. Stream bed was rip-wrapped with stone to the wetland elevation. I could see some wetland plants, although the drought had made much of the vegetation here dry up.
And what is
Um,
it? Gab, oh yeah, the gabion baskets. That was with the stone in it, right? The wire basket with the stone in it.
Yeah, we're on the wing walls at the outlet of the pipe, which I had found reference to in the file. This configuration makes the most sense to me. I can't see why we would cut off something
Why would
gabion
we
baskets.
want- Why would we want a stream bed with gabion baskets?
I think the wording was not clear.
Wasn't it there to stop erosion or something? Because
I mean, I do remember those in the
I
drawing.
remember, I remember them too, and I think there was a lot of flow at the end of that pipe. And I think we were concerned that there was gonna be a lot of siltation if we didn't do something there. Is that where he put them? At the wing walls.
The wing
Yeah,
walls at the,
wing walls.
yes, yes.
That's
Wing
what
walls
we,
at the outlet of the pipe.
yeah,
Okay, next, there were no grass clippings anywhere on the property. Next note, fill had been removed next to the wetland and in the stream bed. I'm going to assume it was approximately 100 cubic yards as what was required to be removed. Can't see the
If you
rest of this.
followed the order.
Okay. There was no fill around the trees. The yard seemed flat. I saw no mounding around the tree trunks. And the last note is there was erosion control at the edge of the lawn, which he said would remove as soon as the work was approved and the certificate of compliance was issued.
Mm,
Those are Elaine's notes.
okay.
Here's the note about the baskets. Installed at the end to prevent erosion of the stream banks.
Yeah, I think there was a problem with this velocity of the water in that area. All right,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. So Elaine is in agreement that the conditions were met. So would somebody like to make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 5 Finley Street?
I'll move it.
For a second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Ken,
Yes,
Paul,
Yes,
Peter?
Yes.
Jimmy?
Yes,
And I also vote yes. Are you good, Rebecca?
Right, good to go. Next.
Okay. Next is, it should be Salem Street, correct? Not New Salem, 610 Salem Street, DEP 313585.
Yeah, did I write New
Yeah.
Salem on the agenda?
That's the old Taylor rental, correct? That's,
No, it's 610 Salem Street. Did I
Right.
write Salem Street?
you wrote
you
New
wrote
Salem.
New Salem on the agenda.
Yeah, so this is Taylor rental property, correct? Is that
right,
what it is?
right.
Yeah, so 610 Salem.
610 Salem.
It doesn't sound like Taylor rental, is it? Wait a minute.
Someone's got to be correcting me on these things. Can't trust me.
Wasn't,
I sent you guys the monitoring report that was required under the order. It's the first one.
Yeah,
And then I sent you the
Oh,
condition
I
that
see.
requires it.
This is the rental equipment property.
yeah, Taylor
Is
rental.
that? Oh, okay, it was Taylor. I didn't think that was Taylor. Okay.
It was at one point.
well, it was Taylor, it's not now.
All right, so yeah, it is 610 Salem. I see the email, construction monitoring report number 1, 610 Salem Street, 313585. Let's see. Monitoring report, I will share that. Prepared by Libby. Ed Hayes. So this is the first report.
Yes.
Um,
And what are they reporting on right now?
So the condition says the developer shall be required to hire an environmental monitor to provide review of the construction phase sedimentation control. The
Okay.
monitor shall be approved, et cetera. And provide the engineering division with periodic inspection reports at frequencies outlined within the stormwater pollution prevention plan. So I believe that this is the environmental monitor who is watching over the construction phase sedimentation control and providing you with a report.
Okay. So they're starting with the sedimentation control. Whatever
Yeah.
work that is.
yeah.
Hmm.
And she's pointing out the erosion controls,
Oh, yeah,
what
Yep.
type they are,
yeah.
and confirming that they're installed properly.
I think they've been out there for a couple of years.
Okay,
I don't know. I think I checked that erosion control.
Well, that's what Libby's supposed to be doing. Right?
so
Hmm.
she's the monitor,
Yes?
and it's a Hayes project also, right? Hayes, the
Mhm.
engineering. That's kind of,
I designed it, probably.
yeah, yeah. Is that unusual? For them to be providing the monitor? It's almost like a conflict of interest.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, we have a lot of faith in Libby's abilities.
Okay,
So reading through it, it looks like she thinks that everything's okay for now.
Yeah. If, how long have they been doing work out here? Do
I
we
don't
know?
know.
I don't know.
Like
At
these
least not
pictures,
long.
are these pictures like this August 5th? So, okay, they're only a few weeks old. So it must be fairly recent. All right. So really just an update on that.
Just an update,
Okay.
letting you know what's going on.
All right. We have a couple of other items on here. Open space updates and 56 Harrison Ave tree removal.
So 56 Harrison Avenue tree removal is a carryover. Elaine is on vacation,
Hmm.
so I think it's probably best if we wait for her. Because she
Okay.
does a tree. I think it was a leftover from a previous agenda that got carried forward, and she did make a note that she delivered the tree policy to the homeowner. And that's the last I've heard of that.
Okay.
So why don't we just wait on that one?
All right.
And then Judy and I can give you some updates on the open space.
Yeah, I read that. That's fantastic.
Oh,
Everything
and
you did
that's
there.
and then the other document that we're trying to finish up and put together. Related, but not the same thing. So this is a draft. But basically the gist of it is, and we've talked about this before, is we're going to ask that the town take some of the ARPA money to use to transfer what properties are currently listed as tax title, because that doesn't really afford them true protection, and transfer them over to town properties, whether it be Conservation Commission for some of them or park department or DPW for instance, for perhaps what's in Crystal Lake watershed. So there are 85 of them that we've identified, and I put together a few. You can scroll through the map if you want, but just for instance, the town forest being one of them.
It's a stupid question, but why does it cost money to make the transfer from one part of the town government to another part?
Because in order for them to, I spoke with Tom Mullen, and in order for them to appropriately transfer to like a department for a purpose, and which would then afford it, I think, some like real honest protection, is they have to do the title search to ensure that we have the title clear and clean and clear.
Okay.
So I overestimated, like Tom had given me a guesstimate of what each one would cost. And some of the information, like I have a spreadsheet that I have, half of these I have deed information for, so I don't think it would ever exceed that amount. I think it should probably come in a lot less than that, but just in case something comes up. But they have to do that title search, and then I believe town council has to vote to designate it or transfer it or accept it or something to that effect, which would take it out of that tax title status. Because technically it's not a true preserved piece if it's just operating under that status, from what I understand. Perhaps the legal peoples could give me more information, but a lot of it is assumed town property and uses open space. You can see from the MAPC website, just that Emerald Necklace area, which is a lot in the green there. There are trails all over the place. So it's just really securing what is already there, because you never know what can happen in the future. And it's moving towards their goals. You know, they have all this envision Wakefield and trying to prioritize open spaces and green spaces, you know, pocket parks, all these things. So this is just really the very, very first step of trying to get this done. So there's a bunch of different areas. Like I said, hopefully we can finish this pretty soon, but Judy, by all means, jump in.
No, you're doing a good job.
This
I learned
is,
from you.
this is really nice. This is really, really great.
And some of them, like the Crystal Lake watershed protection areas, it's just kind of cleaning it up. A lot of these are surrounded by town properties anyway, but you know, part of this is I remember ages ago, there was tax title property that a neighbor kind of had been encroaching upon. And I had a conversation about it ages ago. And basically it was the town really couldn't go for any type of penalties to get people to stop encroaching on the property, because it was tax title, it wasn't really designated for a use. So it was kind of this weird gray area. That picture is actually that triangle.
Yeah.
And so that one, I think in particular, so some of them aren't listed in the assessors as tax title, but if they have an unclear deed, they all have this 1/1/1901 sale date to them and no legal reference to it, like no book and page number for a deed. So I included some of those on there just to get that clarified. It may be that they find a deed somewhere or something, but right now we don't have the proper documentation. My favorite is the next one. If you zoom to that one, because there's a whole park there.
Yeah.
I know.
And that's still all tax title property. And part of that, those parcels that put together would make that park. There is a neighbor who is encroaching on that as well. So once these get transferred, it's changed to park. It's easier for town council to go and say, you need this land is designated for park purposes, and as an abutter, you're not allowed to pave it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
There's
you're
over
saying that
3
they're,
acres.
I'm sorry, what?
go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead. I'm letting you go.
No, you're just saying that one of the neighbors
my
is
God.
paving, is paving
The
over.
only thing I was gonna say is, I didn't know there was that much land up there. There's 3.3 acres.
Yeah, I thought it was much smaller than that.
Can you scroll? I think I put it in there. Go towards the end. Keep going, keep going. There's a couple of maps towards the end. Not that one. Not that one. I hope it's there. Not that one. Maybe the next one. There you go. That's it.
Yeah, right here.
Those
Oh,
are
it
the
goes all the way
pieces.
to Valley Street.
Yes, yep, it goes all the way down. That's that one big
Yeah, I
lot.
just saw this little piece here and
Wow.
Right. It's actually those 4 lots.
yeah, this is all wooded on the other side.
Right. Yeah, but it's part of that one parcel.
Wow.
And the majority of these lots, especially one like that, that's all open, could really use enhancement, some
Mhm.
added
Yeah.
vegetation. And the
Yeah.
Hopkins Prospect Street one as well, that one is just a clear strip of grass. But that would be an ideal pocket park, have a bench or some kind of built-in climbing structures for little guys.
Yeah.
You know, it could be an area for creative enhancement, but absolutely vegetation enhancement in a lot of these.
I know Patty Heights has looked like that forever. So
Yeah.
big. But it's all ledge, right?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of drop off.
Yeah.
And once we
down.
get these things as designated as, parks or open space, and we get the open space plan approved, you're now eligible for grants, for various grants that can help. Perhaps if you guys have some ideas on this, for how you'd like to see that. Or
Is there a
any
lot of,
enhancements or
yeah.
whatnot. So Peter, were you asking if there was indeed some paved areas on some of these properties? Is that what you were gonna ask?
Yeah, just was wondering, just interesting that you're saying that neighbors are using the properties as their own and are paving them even, the public property?
Yes,
Is that commercial or residential or?
residential. Not all of them, but if you were to go on the town's sort of assessors maps, and you can overlay, or you can do mass mapper or various mapping systems, and you can overlay the town property. Sometimes you can, and with an aerial photo, you can see. In some ways, I think it's just natural. I mean, I think it's people just spread their wings, and I think that happens. But the reason that I bring up transferring these things is because you don't have any, you do and you don't. It's much easier because it becomes a violation of article something or other. If these lands are designated for parks and people use them that way, or open space, and they think of them that way, but when it comes down to like the legal deed stuff, it's not that way. And I think that really needs to be cleaned up pretty quickly. And with the ARPA funds, there's finally this pot of money that we might be able to dip into to get something that should have been done a long time ago to just get it cleaned up.
Yeah. Right.
And it's in everyone's best interest. Every single department in the town would want this to happen. It makes sense
Right.
for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because not everybody is aware that this is what's currently happening.
Yeah.
And as we move along with the open space meetings and plans, if people have ideas for what they'd like to see in the open space plan, any kind of ideas at all, whatever you have, anything,
Okay.
anything at all, one idea would be perfect.
And on that note, also, we've started putting together the open space committee, and you guys, I was hoping to have the names for you this meeting, but it just took a little bit more time because not everyone from the board had met to discuss who they would like to appoint to the Open Space Committee. But at the point where we have the names, which is hopefully at the next meeting or the one, maybe even the last one in September, you guys will need to go through the formal appointment process to appoint these names that we give you, one person from the ZBA, one person from the planning board, et cetera, to the Open Space Committee. It needs to be a formal situation. I spoke with Tom Mullen. And then that committee will have a posted agenda and will meet all the requirements of the open meeting law. It's anticipated, according to the consultant, that there will be 5 of these meetings and perhaps every other month, something to that effect. It would be swell if there was a member of the Conservation Commission on it. That does not include myself or Judy.
There absolutely has to be at least one member on it. There's no way around that. It has to be.
And then there's
someone
that.
That's just embarrassing if there isn't someone from the commission. Since the commission is endorsing this plan.
Volunteers?
And in between those meetings, they'll have public forums. So that's also an opportunity to, to get see what people are thinking of. And I think it's a good idea, a good way to, take the temperature of open space in town.
Judy, I'll give you a ring to talk about it a little bit, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Ken.
Do you need more than one person from conservation or just one?
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go.
Who?
Anyone on
All of
conservation.
No, I
I
thought you,
was hoping there'd be some interest here.
no, I
Look
thought
at me
you,
here.
Do I count?
Yes, absolutely.
I thought you were implying that you had to have one person from each.
Yeah,
board.
you can't not show up.
No, no, only
It does
one.
have to be at least one person.
Can it be more than one?
Yes, it can.
Okay. That's all.
At
I
least
wanted-
one.
That's all I wanted to know.
Can we volunteer Jimmy's backyard for a wildlife camera?
Yes, love it.
Yeah, that's top of my list. This is great. What a lot of work you guys have done. It's incredible.
Oh, if you only knew the amount of swearing that it took to make that map.
Oh, I can imagine
Bye, Rebecca.
between the two of you, I can imagine.
I don't know. Kevin Gill, the accountant, walked through the office today and we said something. He goes, "There's a lot of swearing going on in this office," with Judy and I.
Oh.
Those maps are pain because
You got that one favorite word that you can't seem to get rid of.
I read it was good for you to speak like that.
Yeah, I'm sure, but you guys,
Right.
I have to tell you, I'm so impressed with what you guys have got done here. This is wonderful.
Yeah, this is a great document.
It's a nice piece of work. Yeah.
I can't stop looking at it.
Wait till it's finished. You should see the spreadsheet. Got fancy spreadsheets and everything.
Wow,
So anyway,
good job.
Something to note on that silly little triangle on Prospect Street is that it has a turkey family that wanders through it on a very consistent basis.
Huh,
Somewhere between 3 and 5 typically.
really?
Yeah.
I said 5 walks down my street today, if you want to come look at them.
Oh, I have them on my street too, but I pass by that park and oftentimes there's Tom strutting with a bunch of them in the park.
I've
That
had
lot-
up to 40 at one time in my front yard.
wow.
Jeez. Wow. Where are you, baby?
On Forest Street in Greenwood, that big hill,
Oh, okay.
right
yeah.
by the, right behind the Crystal Lake area.
Ah,
So they come out of the woods there.
yeah.
They're vicious birds. I have one of them he's pecking my tire. I'm trying to drive my car over, and he's pecking at the wheel.
We had one sitting on my daughter's roof of her car a few weeks ago.
But here's a fun fact. They actually see their reflection in your car.
Yeah,
They think you're another bird.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
Your car.
We've
They're
had
known
so
for
many,
their
I've started
intelligence.
talking to them. So they've learned to cohabitate with us.
yeah.
The coyotes chase them up into the trees here at night.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't see the whole wetland area off of 95 between Parker Road and Elm Street, we used to call it McDonald's Swamp behind North Ave. I don't see anything about that anywhere.
Can you pull it up? Show me where you're looking at.
Looking, let's see if there's
Parker Road.
Elm Street, Parker Road, North Ave, that whole wetland behind the car dealership, train tracks.
Oh,
Huge maple swamp and streams and ponds and
is that, so you're saying that's tax title
Is that-
property? that
is
you
that
I don't know what it
town-owned?
is. Maybe it's already owned, already town owned and
we can look at that real quick.
Is that the one they tried to give to us and we never got it?
I mean, it's the biggest, besides Reedy Meadow, it's the biggest open wetland in town. In fact, it may be greater in size than what's actually in Wakefield.
Have
Reedy
have
Meadow.
you seen, have you seen Reedy Meadow lately? The stream is gone. It's dried up. There's no
We're in a
water.
severe drought.
Yeah,
I
my
know.
backyard's dry.
Yeah,
I know. I don't know where all the fish went.
Let me, I'll
I
find,
died.
I'll pull this up.
Sorry.
Yeah, like I can tell you're really sorry.
Judy.
Oh, they swim
Probably
away.
wanted for
They're better-
lunch.
Right here.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's a big area.
It's a huge area. We used to play hockey there all weekend long in the winter.
Right, well, wasn't there that parcel they tried to give to us?
Yes, I think that was the parcel. Because it's behind Knights of Columbus. Before they proposed the 40B beside the Knights of Columbus. Yeah, so that's town owned.
But this entire,
that's town land.
all of this,
I,
I mean, it crosses 95.
right,
I grew up in. you know,
Okay,
neighborhood
I
town.
looked it up. Yes.
Where is
so-
where is Reading? Where's the
Reading
border
line
with
is
Reading?
right here.
At
Parker,
Brook Street?
Street.
Okay, at
Yeah.
Brook Street?
yeah,
Yeah.
Brook Street is actually half and half. One side is Wakefield, one side is Reading. For the most part,
Wow.
except for these two houses, 3 houses.
I didn't realize how much, that's all.
Yeah, I grew up
What?
down here. This is where I lived growing up.
So the town owns all that wetland?
So Bob, you're right. Some of those parcels are tax title. I will make a new grouping and a new map for that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad you told me.
Sorry, I just jumped in. This is
So it goes out to the railroad track then. from the-
sorry. Sorry, I was interrupting somebody. Yeah, this is Henry from 2 Anjum Lane. I'm the current owner. I guess I missed a part of the meeting already.
Oh, yeah.
Do we finalize the plan? If may I have access to the details of what are we gonna do?
Yeah, we can have Rebecca tell you.
Sure. Hey, Rebecca.
Hi. So I think how we left off is we're looking at speaking with Libby Wallace, who crafted that wildlife enhancement plan.
Yeah.
That wildlife enhancement plan had a lot of species on it that would make those areas upland or be classified as upland, which would not be wetland. It would be virtually impossible to issue a certificate of compliance for the closing of that order of conditions with the existing wetlands turned to upland. So what we're looking at doing is speaking with Libby, see some of those areas will likely need to be restored back to wetland. And then some of those areas, then we're going to try to see how we can, under the regulations, justify portion wetland fill and see about enhancing them with, well, we're quite unsure at the time of how to make that work. But as of right now, just planting those ferns and whatnot wouldn't really meet the requirements. And they wouldn't be able to issue a certificate of compliance because it doesn't technically comply. So we're still working on it. It's kind of challenging because we're trying to meet the regulations, which is what they're required to do. But on the other hand, be realistic and understand that you need some usable space. So trying to reconcile those two opposing ideas is a little bit challenging, which is what is taking so long.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we're gonna try to work with Libby a little bit more, but most likely it's gonna be some type of combination. And we're gonna
Gotcha.
see within the regulations, how we can try to keep it, some usable space for you.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Any where can I find this? Do we have it somewhere? You know, this detail, the plan, or what's the current progress? Do we have any documentation on that right now?
We have Libby's wildlife enhancement plan.
Okay.
Do you have that?
No, I don't. I don't think so.
Okay, I can certainly forward that to you. That's easy enough. I can forward that to you, although it's going to change, so.
Sure. Yeah.
But I can send you that. That shows she had proposed to plant some ferns and various other things in a couple areas that were previously wetland. It just becomes a challenge because those areas were wetland, and then even with the plantings, they would be designated upland because the plantings wouldn't push it over into a wetland category according to the regulations, which require 50% or more of the vegetation to be wetland plants. And it just wouldn't, that's not what was proposed.
Gotcha.
So that would be the struggle there. So we're also going to go back to the regulations and see how we can accomplish this. This is a very atypical situation and not a method that we typically go through.
Mhm.
So we're also going to have to try to figure out how they can approve how they can issue a certificate of compliance, which in essence says that, yes, it was done as proposed. It hasn't been done as proposed or it's since changed, but yet we're going to try to make a way, see how we can make that fit to the best we can. So that's where
Gotcha.
I don't have any documentation on that because it doesn't exist yet.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, if you can send the, you know, what do we currently have, you know, to my email. Do we have a chat that we can I can send over my no, we don't. If you don't mind writing it down, you know,
I don't mind.
email address, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be
Right.
glad to take a look at, you know, what we currently propose. So my email address is Henry, HENRY
Mhm.
dot
Mhm.
YQU at gmail.com. Yeah.
Okay. Easy enough. I got it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. I can probably forward that tomorrow.
Okay. All right. That would be
Okay.
great. Yep.
All
Yep.
right, great.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
keep talking.
Sure. Yeah. Mhm.
All right.
Okay, I'm just gonna. All right. Have a good night, everybody. I didn't know you guys. I was lucky to find out you guys are still here.
Yeah. We're wrapping up. You were lucky.
No.
We're having a blast. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody. Mhm.
And then-
You, sir. Bye-bye.
All right,
I forgot.
you gonna add those parcels, Rebecca? between-
Yeah, I might not have included those because if they're all wetland, I didn't always include all those under the first round of trying to get them under protection, but I can lump them in and create a new section.
There is some upland in there.
Yeah.
There's a number of different things in there. There's streams, there's ponds, there's
Okay.
all kinds of things.
I saw it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I will include it.
Is there access from the North Ave side?
There
where there's
is.
More upland?
There,
Well,
well,
once the townhouse or the apartment building, whatever they're putting in, will there be access but I don't know that there's a strip in between that there would be
There-
access.
there, when I was a kid, a long time ago, there was a strip right along 95 on the southbound side of Parker Road that we would walk right in. With us.
But is that all underwater now? that's a-
No, I don't think it is.
Okay.
But there was a stream we had to jump over. And there was a path going right in there, right to the big pond. Then there was a stream in the big pond to another pond that was behind Elm Street. You can actually skate.
There are
Yeah.
right of way going in off of North Ave as well, Bob, just near the car dealership.
Possibly, and you have to cross the tracks.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
there's
you have
public
to cross
access
the
there.
tracks.
though.
You're right. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
But yeah, on the Parker Road side, there was a trail, going in. It might be grown over now,
So there is tax title property on Parker Road right before you get to the highway.
Yeah, that was where the path was.
It's an interesting shape.
But the only downside is the parcels, the areas that we've already identified are more usable areas. So I wouldn't want things to get kind of bogged down if they get stuck on this one parcel that isn't really accessible or seen as usable, and it kind of puts things off the rails for the whole conversation. You know what I mean? Because it's more of a focused conversation now about enhancement of these lots and how they could be either beautified or used. If there's a very limited use,
The spreadsheet you have though, does it list all the lots? Or is it just,
I don't think it's all the lots in town.
No, it's
No.
not all the tax title lots. It's all the
No.
ones with a,
That were proximate to other areas that we talked about, or that we thought could be areas that could be enhanced, like the Prospect Street, the Patty Heights.
or that were currently being used and or assumed, people, I think, used by the public now already.
Right.
Under the
Right.
assumption that they were already protected in green spaces. Yeah, Bob, it does go on both sides of the highway. I'm looking at the assessor's maps now.
for tax title?
Yep. And some of them are designated as town, so I'd have to look into. Sometimes that it's not always correct, but yeah, I'll pull all of those back over there. Okay, I'll look
Yeah,
into
check it out and see what you guys think.
Yep. I see what you're saying.
All right. Anything else?
Mm-mm,
Rebecca? No?
not by me.
Judy, anything?
Oh, all set.
All right, so Peter and Jimmy are doing a site walk Saturday at 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
On my calendar, Jim.
we're gonna go for brunch. It's too late for breakfast.
And September starts our new schedule.
That's right. Tuesdays.
And it's first and third or second and fourth?
First and third.
And
First and third.
September 5th.
Yes.
Yep.
sixth,
Sixth.
September 6th, which is the day after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said.
Anybody on vacation that day or out of town?
Already in my calendar.
All
And
right.
the 20th.
Yeah, thanks to who sends out the invitations, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that means hopefully, actually, hold on once. You guys should have your final email with all this stuff on Thursday, September 1st. That was the idea. It wasn't in by
We'll
then.
see how it works.
Yeah.
Got a nice long weekend to review everything.
Right.
Speaking of reviewing everything, Rebecca, I went through every email on the Conservation Commission email.
Oh,
595
yeah.
595 emails.
Holy mackerel.
Geez,
I hope it wasn't anything
you must have
important.
had a lot of downtime.
Can
No,
you summarize? Can you just give us a quick summary of each one?
a lot of them had Jimmy's name mentioned in them. I got rid of the spam and junk ones.
So what about the last three?
Oh,
Oh, you know,
About being injured in a car accident or something else. I don't know.
Deer jumped out of your wetland neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
is there
anyway,
anything in there? Like, how old were they?
somebody's been reading them, but maybe, or looking at them. There were some responses. Not all of them were unread.
was it
I
important?
don't know, a few years.
Really?
Was there anything important in there?
And there's all kinds of stuff, but there's a lot of like invites and other types of conservation groups and things of that nature.
The ones that were red, were they also copied to Concom? Because there's a
Possibly.
Concom email and then there's a Conservation Commission email, and
Yeah,
then there's our individual emails.
that may have been the case.
Because I don't know who else would be reading it.
Yeah, that may have been the case.
Oh, okay.
I have to go back and confirm that.
All right, well, just forward me anything if you think I need to either know or respond to. Because we don't, actually, I mean, I'm not, those are not to us. I don't know. It's a weird system.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't be checking it very often. But I will check it out like once a week anyways.
I think once a week is plenty.
I mean, don't want to tell you how many emails I get at work a day. It's absurd. But yeah, I'll poke in there at least once a week. And if there's something that seems important that's not Concom copied, I will forward it.
Okay.
I mean, it's a full-time job going through those 595.
Must have been a while.
Has there been any word about a new associate? Or has no one applied? What do you think?
Geez, I don't
You
know.
haven't heard anything from Sherry?
I haven't.
I haven't.
I haven't.
You have? Who has?
Mm-mm.
No one has.
No.
No one's interested.
You guys aren't selling it around town.
I probably have to have a PhD these days.
Pays too low.
I don't even know where it was advertised.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't see it on this
haven't
website.
seen the item lately.
I don't think it was advertised.
Well, maybe we should check that out. And
That might be a good idea.
Anything coming up? I mean, the vote's got to be coming up before us soon, I would think.
Yes.
hope not. The fires are still burning in Braycott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so Might not be
As of
anything.
right
but-
now, we don't have any other public hearings for the next meeting because I would have had to have had the information by now to put in a legal notice. It's a
Yeah.
holiday, so I have to, that those days don't count.
Yeah, everything's
So-
closed out.
So as of right now, we don't have any other public hearings, so it's just any of this kind of small stuff that gets carried over. So if there's any topics that you guys want to discuss, we have a wide open meeting right now.
Mm.
For now, it'll get filled, but Jimmy's gonna tell us about New Salem Street and what's going on over there.
Not me.
And what he had for breakfast
What he
before he
had.
went over there.
I know where there's a good restaurant in Wakefield for breakfast anyways.
It's right
Maybe
across the
those-
street, right? You can go right
Maybe
across the
there's
street
some
for breakfast.
ideas- Maybe
What's
there's
that?
some ideas for the open space plan.
Yeah.
I had some ideas for the open space plan. You didn't like them.
Yeah, we submitted some ideas.
You didn't
Mm,
like my idea. You didn't really hurt
I don't know
my
if I'd
feelings.
call them ideas.
There should be some signage and markings and, you know, designating
Right.
how to get in or where the trails are.
Anything on climate change, resilience, anything like that? Any thoughts on that realm?
I don't understand this whole
Yes.
resilience concept. I don't understand what it's about.
What?
I don't understand this resilience, whatever it is that.
How
you
we
guys wanna
respond
talk-
to big events?
I'd be better.
How do
prepared.
we? Right.
How do we
How
what?
does the
Prepare.
natural environment and the wildlife respond following large flooding events, big storm events? Do we have enough area for them to live in? Is there
How does
sufficient
that-
coverage?
how does
sufficient
that
flood
hook
storage?
to the open space plan?
Because that's a reasoning for why we need to conserve and enhance open space so that we're more resilient in the face of climate change and
It's
rising
looking
flood
forward.
levels.
It's just looking
Or
forward.
lowering flood levels,
Greater temperatures, more intense
drought
storms.
conditions,
More wetlands to take impacts.
Mhm.
Correct.
or more shady areas to keep areas cooler in these hot days.
Right. Because as breakout burns, the wildlife has to go somewhere. And if there's nowhere for it to go, it's going to die.
No, it's in my backyard.
But there are fewer backyards for which to
Mm.
move. There are fewer and fewer open spaces. That's why getting these contiguous parcels will be huge.
So
And
they're
heightening the profile of them.
They're providing a section in the open space plan for that.
Yes, we are.
resiliency.
Mhm.
That's a tough one because it's kind of new. You know,
Yeah, it is, but I think it's something that when you drill down on it, it's basically the whole premise of an open space plan. What is the function and value and why do we need open spaces? You know, it goes hand in hand with that. It provides resilience for climate change.
Mhm.
Rather, because people generally see it for its aesthetic value and for wildlife. But beyond that, what happens when there's a catastrophic event and there's an area that's a microburst and there's a clear cut area and there's no place for the wildlife? Is there another area for them to migrate to?
Well, if you
You know,
look at
what happens then?
if you look at the interests of the act, some of those interests would play right into what you're talking about.
Right.
it's another reason to do what we're doing, but I don't know what we can do to specifically address.
I still don't get the connection.
Does the town have a policy about tree planting and to replace
No.
street trees and the like?
They have an initiative about replacing street trees. The
Mhm.
planning board is actually trying to work on a tree bylaw or some part of the subdivision rules and regs about tree preservation during site work and
Mhm.
the need for more trees. But I think as we get these parcels, if they can be enhanced, then that goes along with
Mhm.
resilience, having better functioning areas. You know, species that are going to be more protective, getting the invasives out. So if they're a higher functioning area, then it's going to provide a higher level of protection.
You know, I think there's an issue with the street trees in general in that they're not planted deep enough. There's not enough sidewalk width between the sidewalk and the street. They're not always planting the right type of trees. And
I
they're putting them
100%
in,
agree.
they're putting them in crushed rock and there's very little soil. I mean, in my neighborhood alone, you know, all the roots are coming up through the sidewalk. It's tripping hazard. The strips are not wide enough for the trees they're putting in. Trees are dying off.
There's ways to do it to fix that.
Yeah, there is. And maybe
People in
that's,
town know about those ways. I just don't know if they're spending the money on those ways.
But I think that that's something that maybe the planning board could take the lead on under their subdivision rules and regs, you know, better management of that. And I had given them a couple of ideas I had when they were looking for input on it, especially about street trees. And there is a list of accepted street trees that can be used. But when you look at the list, there are some that really don't provide much value. The locust is like the biggest thorn in my side because it provides nothing.
and some are dropping branches all over the place.
Right. And they use them downtown because I think some of the previous property owners felt that it blocked their signage if it had a canopy. It adds zero value. There's no aesthetic value. They're just not well suited for what we're looking at.
Is there a minimum width of that strip between the sidewalk and street that's required?
It's,
It varies, and I know in my neighborhood, it varies all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, you can get a variance from the planning board for that. Rebecca and I had looked at a couple of areas that were cul-de-sacs that had sidewalks on both sides. Are they really needed on both sides? Probably not. You know, Sarah, there are a lot of opportunities to be more creative about street layout as well.
Yeah, you could
Yeah.
have islands in the middle, like Jim has on his street.
Mm.
Is that a planning, or is that a town planner type of?
Well, that would be
Or
more.
in there?
planning
I know
board.
we don't
That-
have one, but
No.
wouldn't it be in their purview? All of that
It,
stuff?
it would be in their purview to suggest it, but it would have to be, it would be like Rebecca. She can give you her input based on her expertise, but you are the ones that vote. So it would still be up to the planning board. And it would,
Right,
in
but-
their, if
but
it
the
were in their
planner would
rules
be
and regs.
designing, and the planner would be designing and pushing this stuff. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah,
I mean, I know, I'm sorry, we don't have one. I get it. I guess that's the point I'm making. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's their job. That's what they do.
right,
I'd like to do whatever to help, obviously, since we don't have one, but
right. And I'm hoping that now that the planning board is looking at their rules and regs, that some of these things that, you know, maybe should have been done even 10 years ago will be taken into consideration. I mean, they haven't updated their regs in, I don't know when, if they've ever been updated, I don't know. But there's a lot of, when you look at rules and regs in other towns, they're so creative with what they come up with. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement. Especially with the way things are changing around town, not just, you know, climate wise, but just the whole landscape of town.
Mhm.
And the reality is there aren't a lot of bigger lots left, so there won't be a lot of, you know, 20 lot subdivisions, but there'll be houses like there are on Prospect Street where there was one house that had a large lot and now it's 3 lots. And that means clear cutting the entire lot. So I think there are ways to maybe, I don't know, maybe the focus needs to be on smaller, have a subsection for smaller areas. Because that's where a lot of the damage is being done, I think. Smaller lots that are being, I mean, there was one in Greenwood, 110 trees were taken down for 3 houses.
Oh, I know.
And these
I
were
know.
mature oaks.
Yeah, it was a forest. It was a beautiful
Yes.
forest.
And that's
Yeah.
gonna
That
continue to
blasting
happen.
is destroying people's foundations for sure, too.
Yeah.
Right, right. And that's going, I mean, that, all
that
of
was
this
a
is
crime.
going to be,
Was that a
Rebecca.
parcel that was sold?
Yeah, it was a single
Yes, it
family
was a
house
parcel
on the
that was
back of the
sold.
parcel, and it was sold. And,
Well, it was the owner of the
Okay.
property that was developing it.
yes.
oh, was it?
Right.
Yep.
And he, yeah.
Well, if
But
we
we
ever
were-
learn of things like that, there's possibility that, you know, the town can attempt to purchase. 'Cause I haven't seen Wakefield do that in God knows when. I don't know if I've ever seen that, but there's
did it-
opportunities and there's
We did it
assistance.
once.
Yeah, at the lake.
Yeah,
What?
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Is that-
Rebecca, do you
Yeah.
have a spreadsheet for all this where you could sort by like size and shape and area, or
A spreadsheet of what specifically?
for these lots, all these lots that you're tabulating? Do you have a
Yes.
spreadsheet where you can, you know,
Yes, I do.
locate them through, not just their size, but maybe their characteristics or something that sticks out about what's useful about the piece or something? I'm just trying to figure out if there's ways to know, like, especially when Judy's now talking about large parcels. That's something we do want to take a good interest in, because the first chance they can get, someone's going to be putting in something to buy them.
You could
And-
approach homeowners of large parcels to see if they're interested in a conservation
Yeah.
restriction.
Yeah. But I guess what I was saying is that if there was a way to, if you had this on a spreadsheet, I didn't know if you were going to do it or not, but if you did, it might be an easy way to sort through stuff. just to, I don't know.
Well, it depends what you want to, how you want me to sort it, because I mean, I've created some spreadsheets and then I can get some spreadsheets from, like the assessors. It depends on what kind of information.
Mhm.
I mean, I can sort them by parcel size for sure. That I don't have to
Yeah.
do. That's already in there. I can just resort it.
Yeah.
That would be
I
easy,
I
but
can add to it if you want. Like I could add to a table like that for specific features that we might want to highlight or look
Mhm.
into it a little bit more or drive there and look into different stuff. So,
So
happy to
what,
populate some of that.
okay.
what would you want to do with that list, Jim?
I don't know. Any information I think is valuable.
Right, but you're talking about trying.
I didn't know if it was something that was easy to do. I'm not trying to make it work for you, so don't.
No, 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 no. I'm just asking what you would like to do with that.
Well, for
No.
me, I would like to see, of course, the size of the lot.
No,
And I
but
like-
what do you hope to achieve by that? To approaching the person, for the town to approach them to purchase it, or that's what I mean?
Oh, no, I just meant for, if someone said, well, what parcels are up in this area, you could, highlight them or whatever you would do, and then maybe you'd have a little note on there, it's all ledge or something, or some feature about it that might be important to help determine what you could do with the property.
You mean for the town-owned lots?
For the lots that she's talking about doing.
Okay.
The ones that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so they're already in a spreadsheet. I don't have that information in there, like something notable about them, but I can share the spreadsheet and anyone can put those notes in there
Yeah,
if you want.
Right, so if I had
See,
a
that
couple
kind of
of,
goes along with what I've been talking about that I haven't done yet. As far as gathering information on certain parcels, that would help me.
yeah,
I mean, to be honest, I feel like these parcels are already under the town's purview, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not, I mean, they're owned by the town. So it's really just almost like semantics of getting this just fixed up. What would be more interesting is parcels that are not owned by the town and trying to identify which ones those are, seeing which ones they're currently private property, but which ones are valuable. And then
yeah,
in the future, if you have something like a 6-acre lot that you are looking to that is valuable and wooded, like what that you were just describing, I mean, maybe that's the next step is identifying those private parcels and seeing which ones are valuable, and then really honing in on a few and starting to approach the homeowners to see if they'd be willing for a conservation restriction or offering the commission right of first refusal or, something.
yeah.
We haven't ever done that before. Not
Or
since I've-
a land trust could be established, and that would make it much easier. It could just be put on to the land trust, the easement or the property itself. And the town wouldn't have to be involved at all.
Could do that,
Much simpler.
but you'd have to have some people who establish the
That's
land.
correct. That's correct.
Not me. Not you.
No,
So,
but I think that's a goal that should be worked towards as well.
well, I mean, if you guys know of any of those parcels, like, so for instance, you were just discussing that wooded one. I don't even know what you're talking about. I wouldn't ever know about it because unless it's within the jurisdiction, I don't really hear very much.
Yeah.
But those, if you guys hear that stuff around town, I mean, those are things or know of things or private property that you know of that's large, let us know because we are preparing the open space plan and maybe that's going to be part of the open space plan as approaching the homeowners or getting
I can tell
involved
you,
or something.
I can tell you one already, that one wasn't it off of Spring Street, Judy? That it was 10 acres.
Yes, it was
Right.
off. Yeah, it was behind
And
Spring.
he built 2 homes.
It was, I think it
So
was only a couple of acres. It wasn't 10 acres.
No, it was 10 acres. It went all the way down-
That was two separate properties. It
It
was
went
two
over-
separate properties.
It went all the way down the hill, right? And there's a pond at the bottom. Are we talking the same place?
I don't think so. Are you talking about Bonnier? The one that the town sold? That was 10 acres.
That was 10 acres. That's the one I'm talking about. The one the town.
That's what the town sold, yeah.
$100,000.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of land. Hard to develop. That's probably the only reason why it's available, or it's not available, or why it's there. But it was a beautiful place. It had, it was high. Bob, you remember walking it? You must remember walking it.
Bovis.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was high and it was steep and it came down into a meadow and then it went right
Yep.
yeah,
into a pond.
Did we
Yeah.
comment on the sale of that?
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Did we say
Well,
don't sell it?
I don't think.
Very
we knew about
compelling
it.
letter.
I don't think we knew about it.
Not
Yes,
compelling
you did.
enough.
Not compelling enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, but that's something,
Yeah.
like you're saying, Rebecca, that would be one that you might want
Right.
to keep a track of, because if that comes up, you gotta grab it. at
All right, so you
possible.
guys each has to find one of those in town and get back to me for the next
All right,
meeting.
well, I found mine.
No, it's not.
It's already sold.
It's already sold.
I already gave you mine, Rebecca.
Ooh, rats, more. Those don't count, starting now. Everyone's gonna find one.
Oh, you-
My backyard, right in back of my yard is town, it's tax title.
Yeah,
My property abuts tax title land.
You're the paving guy, aren't you?
No, I did seal coat my driveway though.
All right, so everyone's got their homework for next meeting. We have, like I
Yeah.
said, we have no public hearings because I would have had to have had them by now, and I don't.
okay.
So that means it's a wonderful opportunity to branch out and do some of these other things that we don't often have time to do.
And the open space plans for Reading and Arlington have sections about sustainability. And they were done by Horsley Witten.
Okay.
And
So
apparently
those are
those were
things
sent
that-
to us, but I missed it. I can forward them.
Sustainability, huh?
Sustainability or resilience?
Both.
Is it two different groups that are doing this?
Oh my God. What do you mean?
It's very
killing me.
confusing.
It's
You're killing me
someone
right
doing
now.
Judy, can you have a
Sustainability and
private
someone
session
else
with
doing
Jim?
resilience. I don't get this.
Sustainability and resilience go hand in hand.
Yeah, well.
You
I'm not
create a
following.
sustainable landscape that makes you more resilient following a storm. You kind of one without the other. It's peanut butter and jelly.
Sorry.
Something doesn't sound right with it.
Oh my God.
All right, Jim, you have some homework.
Yeah, right. I've been looking at sustainability in Wakefield, Mass. And
Just look at those two plans.
oh, look,
Oh,
no,
no, there is the Envision Wakefield plan talks about sustainability. That's on the town website. On the Town of Wakefield website.
Okay. Okay, I still don't get it, but I think
Oh
that
boy.
we should, I don't get the connection for open space, but
If you don't have open spaces, how do you survive following large
but
floods and big
we're
storms?
taking care of open space.
You,
I don't-
Well, for instance, you can have open space that has floodplain on it. And then if you preserve that area with the floodplain and adjacent,
Right.
when you have more intense storms and most likely that floodwaters are going to raise higher, you don't have development there, right? So you have now planned for the future where you can assume in some places like floodwaters would rise. Therefore, if you preserve some of those areas open space, you've created you have a buffer to the people who live there, right?
Yeah,
That's what
so
we're
they're
trying-
protected from floodwaters. The water has a place to go.
okay, but that's like redesigning the whole town.
It's protecting those areas
time.
and not allowing encroachment
Yeah.
on them.
You don't really have a choice because it's coming.
I know it's
It's
coming.
happening now.
It's kind of happening right now.
We're not
That's why they're
redesigning
part of the
town.
MVP program, because the state is trying to say, we have this data, this is what we anticipate is gonna happen. We can show you where the sea level rise, if you were coastal, or the floodwaters are gonna rise. So these are the things that you can expect. Because we can expect this, it's your job now as a town to get ready. Do what you can do to prepare
Okay,
that
well,
this
that-
is
well,
coming and
that
this
makes-
is happening.
Well, that's the first thing that made sense to me yet.
Oh my God. Am I talking to myself?
What? Who's talking?
Okay.
Where'd this come from?
Can you sharing?
I am.
Oh, Reddings. Okay.
No,
It
that's
always
an
gets
open space and
shoved to the
recreation
very
plan.
end.
Look at that pretty little path.
They have a lot of nice conservation areas.
Yeah.
And they have signs too.
Right?
They do.
Be nice if we could get that done.
We're going to, we don't have any money
Okay.
to do it right now.
Goal.
I mean, the open space plan is first because it's like sort of the backbone that we can use to apply for various grants. Some of the other grants are under the MVP program, that type of stuff.
Oh, there's that word, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the Wakefield website too, Jimmy. There's a resilience framework there.
I know, I saw that. I was so impressed.
We just cut and paste this one. This is pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty
Yeah,
good.
there you go. I'm just gonna have to change the names.
We'll just change the colors and
Oh,
pictures.
That's what scares me. If you can just cut and paste this stuff, it almost takes away some of the importance to it. It's like you just.
No, it doesn't. It's all important.
We're just gonna take that picture, take that person out, Photoshop you in it, Jimmy,
Smiling.
and with a trail cam.
Yeah, there you go.
Quite the boardwalk.
Yep.
Don't forget, we're not going through Reedy Meadow.
There's not enough of it in the borders of Wakefield.
Right. I think Bob's right. That's much bigger marshland over here on the west side.
Yeah.
In Reedy Meadow?
Yeah.
No, the marsh that Bob identified earlier tonight
What about it?
is a much bigger area to pay attention to.
But
Than
if
what we have
there's-
in Wakefield of Reedy Meadow.
If there is an access point,
Oh.
then that's an area that could have like bird boxes or something like that, enhancing it
can see
that way.
Yeah.
I'll take a look tomorrow when I go by there.
There's tax title laid on each side of 95 that Rebecca saw going into it.
Are we back over that North Ave area?
Yes.
Mm.
Going back to square one.
Okay,
Reading has a nice website for their plan too.
Who does?
Reading.
Yeah.
Mm.
So everyone has to read that and then try to find something that's Wakefield compatible.
right. Okay,
Anything else we
Okay,
got to
Rebecca.
talk about?
Anything you say, Rebecca.
no,
Sure, always like that.
All right. Judy,
right,
you all
I'm,
set?
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
You got
Yeah, I
a
got work to do.
presentation you're gonna send to Jimmy?
Yeah, I have all my class notes from my master
That's-
certificate class I took. in
Okay.
Sustainability and resilience.
sounds good.
I don't like this word for some
I
reason.
know.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
like
use
that
it every
group.
time I
There's
can.
Something wrong.
Use it every time I can.
I'll send you the definition of resilience.
There you
Judy.
go.
There's a lot of
No, I have my
construction.
phone. I got it in my phone.
There's a
I
lot
looked
of
it up
construction
already.
stuff, Jimmy, that it would make sense for you.
What's that?
There's a lot of construction related stuff for resilience that would make sense to you.
Yeah.
Like putting mechanical on the second floor because the first floor is gonna flood. It's a big one, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Intakes or first floor parking and not having occupied space first floor for flooding.
Yeah, any place where you're at risk of flood makes sense.
Okay.
It's all happening in the industry, just
I
Go
just
down and see the
wanted-
new Spalding Rehab Facility in Charlestown. They did exactly that with that new Spalding Hospital, Rehab Hospital.
I worked on the project.
Did
Oh.
you?
It was very, very dirty.
Yeah, it's an interesting building.
No, it's not.
But the
Right.
stuff that's on.
Can I make a
the
motion to
conservation
adjourn?
Yeah,
Second.
What are you in a hurry?
Oh, that was
Discussion?
a great motion.
Seemed like we were getting there.
right. Judy, you all set?
Yep,
Rebecca, you're all set.
I am, thank you.
All right, so yes, somebody'd like to make that motion to adjourn.
We just did.
I did.
I seconded.
All in favor?
Peter seconded that very quickly.
Hey,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
All right, good night, everybody. We'll see you,
On the 5th, 6th, the 6th.
Tuesday the 6th.
Good
See you
night,
on
all.
Labor Day.
This has
All
been
right,
really
bye,
good. I
guys.
appreciate it.
All right.
Good night.